Welcome to the 4Q podcast. My name is Sheena Shui. I have a Bachelor of Psychology, Masters of Counselling, and Masters of Social Work. My aim is to normalise rather than pathologise life. And in this podcast, we talk all things therapy, women's mental health, leadership, and business. So if you're ready to learn some tips, tricks, and hear some amazing stories to really amplify your life and your business, let's get into it. Welcome again to the 4Q podcast. Welcome back to another episode. In today's episode, we are going to talk all things burnout. So symptoms, causes, and treatment. Now, if you follow me on social media, which I'm hoping that you are, I've changed my handle a few times, so apologies for all of those who have found me on old episodes with my old handle. Currently, it's at Sheena Holistic Therapist. Now, I recently did a poll for a lot of the women who follow me, which is mums, working mums, female leaders, entrepreneurs, business owners. And I asked them, what's the biggest issue that you're facing at the moment of, a few topics? And burnout by far was the number one. So we're going to get into that. Now, let's, what actually is burnout? What does it actually feel like? So I want to talk about what that looks like. So what does burnout actually look and feel like? These are just a handful of the symptoms. There's so much more. We could be here for 20 minutes if I did that. But it's feeling tired and drained most of the time. It's just that feeling that life is exhausting. And I guess just while I'm here, I want to differentiate that burnout is not yet depression. It can look very similar to depression, but it's not yet there. So depression is consistently feeling like that all day, kind of every day. Burnout, it's, if you want to have a look at what this looks like, I put a little visual on my social media, but basically what I see with a lot of people is it starts off as stress. If you ignore the stress, it turns into anxiety. If you push through the anxiety because you're a high achiever, and I know that you're a business owner, a female leader, a juggling mum, you're pushing through. That is when burnout creeps in. And burnout is what is telling you, hey, like it is your mind, body, and soul saying, hey, slow down, take a minute, take a breath. Because if you don't, the next step is depression. And the thing about depression is it can affect you, your life, your kids, your business in so many different ways. Because it ends up being that you just don't have drive, motivation, spark anymore. And that is much harder to recover and, heal from than it is with burnout. So burnout is your opportunity to get in early. So again, the analogy that I use is that with athletes, if they push really hard during the season, they'll end up with the sprain. So if you push really hard during a difficult season of life, of business, you push through the anxiety, burnout is the sprained ankle or the hip pain or whatever it is. It's not a torn muscle yet. It's not a torn ligament that's going to take months of years to recover, but it is a sprain that you need to rest and recover from. You need to sit back and treat it as such. Kind of like the flu. You have an opportunity to rest and recover, but what happens when we push through when we've got the flu? Oh, it ends up worse. We end up with a lung infection or something, sinus infection, and then you end up having to take more time off than if you would have just taken a day or two with the flu. Same thing. And so many women I see blame themselves for the burnout. And so I'll get to that in a minute, but it is your opportunity to rest and recover so that it doesn't turn into something worse. So coming back to my initial point, I was going to say, what does burnout actually look like and feel like? So again, feeling tired and drained most of the time, feeling overwhelmed with everyday tasks. So I know that when I'm at my limit, I'm reaching my limit, I'm not great with homemaker activities. So like cooking, cleaning, laundry, it will sit. And it is so overwhelming to do. Or, the kids just being kids, the sound, the noise, the crying. When I'm in a better space, it still might annoy me, it still might overwhelm me a little bit, but I'm able to regulate myself better. Burnout is when you're really getting angry, more consistently. We all have those moments when we snap, but burnout is when you're noticing the snapping is happening much more for you than what it normally would. And so, snapping at your partner, snapping at the kids, getting pissed off with your co-workers, employees, just having that level of rage or anger that you feel like it's not you. That's, a key sign too. Lowered immunity and frequent illnesses. So you're not recovering from illnesses quickly. You're getting sick. Like every cold, every flu, every daycare thing that comes home, you're getting it. That is when we know that you're burnt out, because you've pushed too hard for too long. Feeling helpless, trapped, and defeated in life. It's that feeling of, is this ever going to end? Is it ever going to get better? We've all been there. And don't get me wrong, it's okay to have those moments. But if that's kind of coming in regularly, daily, several times through the day, there could be an issue there, because, it's feeling like it's not just a phase. Like this is how I feel a lot. Detachment and feeling alone in the world, feeling like you're the only one who's feeling this way or getting it, or nobody's around for you. Again, sometimes when we've pushed through a hard season of life or parenthood or relationships, we tend to withdraw. And withdrawing is a symptom of depression, but we withdraw because we've been so focused on those things that we haven't invested in what's important in life. And we end up feeling like, why didn't I share this with my friends or my family, or invest in the things that really are important? Because then I wouldn't feel so alone in this. And it's also hard for some of the personality types to actually let people in or engage with people when you're stressed. Some of you have a tendency to withdraw and not connect. So again, if you don't know your anxiety personality type, you can take the quiz on my website for free. It's, excuse me, can you tell that I'm sick at the moment? It's savasanacollective.com/anxiety quiz. And you can take the quiz there to find out your personality type, because the two personality types that are the most prone to burnout are the fight response or the flight response, which is the leader, and the high achiever. So if you're the leader or the high achiever, or you think you could be, go take the quiz, find out, because you, my lady, are much more susceptible to burnout, because you're very bad at listening to the symptoms when they're creeping in. You just push through. You just go, I've just got to get shit done. I've just got to push through. I have to take it on because nobody can take it off me. And part of the reason that happens is because you've put yourself in a position where everybody relies on you. So not only can you not rely on others, but you're so used to taking control, and that everyone around you, partners, family, friends, co-workers, have gotten so used to you taking control because of your anxiety or stress, that they now have become reliant on you, which doubles the effect. So they rely on you to get things done. You can't rely on others to get things done. So when you try to pull away, it definitely can feel like things are falling apart. So part of the healing process is ending up teaching people how to do things without you there, how to do things so that you can pull away. And part of your work is to be able to trust people to do that. It's being okay with knowing that you could probably do it better. And that's not the point, is that you need to pull away. And if someone can do 70% of what you do or 80% of what you do, they might not do it to the quality that you would like. But if that is what they can do, so that you can have a break, it's learning to be okay with that. So that's a big part too. Using food, drugs, or alcohol to cope is another kind of symptom of burnout. It's, again, we all do this semi-regularly. We all have those moments where we have a glass of wine after the day, or some people will, go, it's been a rough day, I'm getting a block of chocolate on the way home. That's okay. Again, we don't want to be perfectionists here, but again, if this is happening more and more, or, instead of having the occasional blowout, you're blowing out every single weekend, it's asking yourself, what's going on here? Again, taking frustrations out on others, we've already touched on, isolating from others. So it's not just that feeling alone in the world, but you've actually withdrawn from others too. That's when you're burnt out. And procrastination when you normally wouldn't. It's like, I just can't get things done right now. I'm pulling away. It's going, I couldn't be stuffed doing some of the things that I normally have capacity to take on. So again, that's one of the things of what burnout actually feels like. And again, we've talked a little bit about the causes, but the causes of burnout vary for each of the personality types. So the 4 personality types under stress, pressure, trauma are the leader, the high achiever, the calming presence, and the people person. And each of these types are going to have a different reason that drives them to burnout, because each of these types has a different relationship with perfectionism. And again, to be clear, a lot of people will tell me, I don't identify as a perfectionist, or maybe they identify as a perfectionist, but they find it a really good trait. Almost like, when you go to a job interview and, you say, oh, I'm a little bit too perfectionistic. I get things done too well, or I'm too good at planning and I take too much time to plan or whatever. Almost sort of half bragging, saying, this is a deficit, but it's also a really great trait. So perfectionism is when it's okay to be good. It's okay to be high quality. It's okay to feel proud of the fact that you want to be the best in your field. That's totally fine. But perfectionism is when you'll ignore your core values. You'll ignore the things that are important in life to put that thing first. So that's choosing to work out over spending time with your family. Again, it's okay to work out. It's okay to sacrifice some time with family. But if you're never spending time with family because you want to look perfect, you want to seem perfect, your priority's there. The perfectionism is getting in the way of what's important. Same with, constantly being on for business, constantly driving, feeling like you've got to work all hours to be the best in your field, but ignoring your family or not being fully present, constantly being on, which again is a very big thing for the leader and the high achiever personality type, of constantly being on, which is why they're so susceptible to burnout. So again, I guess just understanding that it's okay to want to be the best. It's okay to want to have those things, to be high quality, all of that. But at what cost? And is this an ongoing cost? So are you just doing this in the short term because you've got a clear goal that's in 2 months from now, and then after that, you've scheduled in time for family, friends, relationships, self-care, all of that? That's different to if this is day in, day out for years. Because you've got to ask yourself, Are you going to look back when you're 80 and go, I'm really glad that I pushed through when I did all of that instead of spending time with the kids, or instead of investing in my relationship, instead of hanging out with my friends, instead of going traveling and seeing all those sunsets that I wanted to see, seeing that mountain range I wanted to see. It seems really wishy-washy, but you've got to ask yourself, what would your 80-year-old self be telling you about the season of life you're in, right? It's getting a little bit of perspective. So that's internal drivers. I do want to touch on burnout comes from two key places. Internal drivers, which we've touched on a little bit here, of your personality type and the internal reasons why you feel the drive. So again, that's from past experiences. Maybe you were taught that resting is lazy. Maybe your parents were always on the go, and if you ever sat down for a minute, they made you feel shame. Like, why are you so lazy? Get up, you've got stuff to do. Don't you have homework to do? So sort of feeling like you have to be on, you have to be doing all the time. Maybe it's you only got love, affection, compliments when you achieved something. So again, maybe your parents inadvertently, they didn't realize they were doing this, but maybe when you were growing up, they only showered you with praise and love when you got a good report card, or when you won the race, or when you did well at sport, or when you did an achievement that reflected well on the family, or when you looked good. A lot of families will praise a lot of women for looking really good, because sometimes they feel like it's a reflection on them. Look at how, attractive my child is. Look at how smart my child is. Look at how, achievement orientated my child is. And so you end up learning, I'm only lovable and worthy when I'm achieving. If I just sat at the couch and cried all day, I'm not as lovable or worthy. You are just as lovable or worthy whether you do nothing, whether you just sit on a beach all day and drink cocktails, whether you climb mountains all day, whether you just be. It's totally okay. So internal drivers can drive burnout. I want to talk about external drivers too, because I don't want you to blame yourself completely for the burnout. So if you're listening to this and you're in a Western country, or you're from a Western culture, so Australia, UK, America, Canada, New Zealand, all of that, there is a culture of individualism. Now, in other episodes, I've talked about individualism versus collectivism, but I don't know how many times I've heard people say, I went to India and the people are just so loving. I went to Bali, Thailand, Philippines, Asia, even Italy, the Mediterranean, Greece, and the people are so friendly, so loving, so caring. Those are collectivist cultures. Collectivist cultures, their values are all around the community and the family. They're doing things because of that. Those cultures make sure that their businesses are family orientated. Their businesses help the community. Everyone supports each other. I cannot tell you how many times again in Thailand where literally the same of the two business, will be right next door to each other, and they're having lunch together, they're supporting each other, they're, celebrating each other. It's a different way. Individualistic cultures are focused, as it sounds like, on the individual, me, myself, and my family. So not extended family, not aunties, uncles, cousins, grandparents, just me and my husband, or me and the kids. That is what the focus is, and it's this competitive, driven, survival of the fittest, I've got to get through life on my own kind of mentality. And it's no surprise then that even though collectivist cultures have worse health outcomes than us and have less material wealth than us, all of their mental health is much better. And that's because they have each other and they know what's important in life. They make time for what's important in life. They don't feel like this competitive capitalistic drive that we do in the West. So how can we bring that in? It's sort of saying, I'm going to set boundaries around my time so that I invest in what's important. My 80-year-old self is going to go, I'm really glad that we took every Friday off when the kids were little and spent time. Or I'm really glad that we traveled every year. Or I'm really glad that we turned off the business for a month and just did whatever we needed to, that we set it up so that I could walk away for a month and it would still run, it would still generate money. Or we made sure that we had really high income months so that we could take 2 months off every year. You know, that's how you can pull away from the individualistic drivers of burnout, which is just be the best, go, push hard, that hustle culture, And I want to make it clear, there's a difference between when you're at work going, I'm going to give 100%, that's hustle, right? But hustle culture is going, sacrifice everything for the end goal. No, that is not the messaging that we should be getting. Sacrifice everything. Sacrifice your mental health, your physical health. Push through the boundaries, just so you can have material wealth. I can tell you right now, that does not lead to good mental health. I don't know how many people I've seen, how many millionaires I've worked with who did that. And they're divorced, their relationships have failed, they've got no friends, their kids, their relationship with their kids is terrible. They can't remember the last time they actually took a holiday, and they're deeply unhappy, okay? I want to avoid that for you, okay? So if you're listening to this and you're relating to the burnout, I want you to rest and recover. And what does rest and recovery look like when you're a high achiever who's constantly on the go? Working with a therapist is going to teach you how you can learn to rest, because I know if you've had that messaging of rest is lazy, you're unworthy, or you just overthink when you're resting, you just feel itchy. I get it. I know that feeling of I could be doing something. I could be doing my to-do list. To-do list will always be there. There will never be a day where everything's crossed off the to-do list. So if you remember that, it's working with the therapist to understand why you're uncomfortable with rest and work on that so that you can learn to rest and recover when you need to. And so I want you to remember that even if you sit on the couch or you go for a walk or you take some time off and you're still thinking about things, but you actually are trying to rest, that's still better than pushing through and not trying to rest at all. Okay? So even if you feel restless trying to rest, it is still so much better than not. Making sure you're taking care of your body. That's not just eating right and exercising and drinking water, even though that's important, but get a massage, get some Reiki, do those therapies, because the body keeps score. Your body is burnt out because of all the adrenaline and cortisol you've been releasing because of your stress. So it's really important to get some bodily interventions that can release some of the muscle tension, release some of the stored energy in your body. I'm telling you right now, it's in there. If you get massages or whatever regularly, it releases, and that's when you can process things better in the therapeutic space. So I hope that that's clear. I could keep going on and on about causes, treatment, and the symptoms of burnout, but I hope that gives you a bit of a flavor of understanding there are internal and external drivers. There are 4 personality types, each of which are going to have different reasons that lead to the burnout. But burnout is the thing that comes before depression, so you must listen to it so that you don't end up in a place where that's harder to come back from. So if this interests you, take the quiz. I'll put in the show notes the link to the quiz. And of course, if you want to go a step further, book in a free 15-minute consult with my team and myself at savasanacollective.com. You can just click book now and it'll take you to the link, and ask us, tell us what you're going through, tell us where you're at, and we can talk through how we can work together and if you're a right fit, because we do have limited spots as well. So we never want you to fully unpack your story unless we can hold that space for you, which is why we do the 15 minutes first. So thank you for being here. Take care of yourself. You can absolutely heal from burnout. I have seen it numerous times, but I want you to listen to those symptoms. Have a wonderful week. Thank you for taking this time for you, and I will see you in the next episode of the 4Q podcast. Bye for now.